Hi, I'm Peter Haddock, and I'm here in Odense, the Leica Geosystems headquarters for machine control. And this is an alert I'm giving you folks to a new AI solution that they have developed, which is going to revolutionize the construction industry. Brad is the expert here who joins me now to talk about this. Brad, wow, machine control, great. AI, now here. Tell us what we've got behind us. We'll just turn that off for folks so you can hear us talking, and why it's going to make such a big difference to the industry.
Yeah, Peter, this is a revolutionary technology. And contrary to normal systems you'll see out in the market, we're bringing something a little bit different. So we're bringing an entire AI platform to the market.
Okay. Yeah.
And of course, we're here to try and service the health and safety professionals out there to make their jobs a lot easier and more efficient.
Well, I talked to a lot of those professionals, and they are using AI systems, but they're also using other alert devices and things like that on the job site. But they're overwhelmed, Brad. And so, getting a lot of things that they have to look at, and there's not 100 of them, there's one or two, isn't it?
Yeah, Peter, I think this is a common problem in industry is health and safety executives are often outnumbered on job sites, right? We may have one safety representative to hundreds of workers, and they've got to keep their eyes all over the job site. And this becomes something really difficult to manage. Even if we have technology in place, there's just a ton of data that is very difficult to sift through and actually come up with insightful indicators of what problems are out on the job site. And we hope to solve that with what you see here.
Now, you might know the name NVIDIA, folks, which is like huge on the AI chip platform. And that's the platform that you've decided to use, that really, really powerful chip inside your new device. So what is the new brains of the device itself?
So Peter, that's a very important point, and I'm glad that you brought it up. We've chosen to partner with NVIDIA in this product. So we're using NVIDIA chips inside. And the reason being is that NVIDIA has an incredible platform in which we can develop very quickly and agile on, but it also has the power and performance that not many other systems have. So I think it's super important. The functionality of our system is very dependent on this platform.
And this platform starts with safety, folks, but it won't stop there, will it, Brad? There's loads and loads of other potentials for this within the development as you move forward from a platform of AI. But talk to us first about, we've had the beeps, we can see I'm moving my arms around, we're in this sort of red zone as such. We've got a nice little circle there, which is actually a touch screen, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So interactive can touch display for the operators in the cabin. And as you can see, that's really clear indicated to the operators when there's someone in and around the machine. Very basically, from a safety perspective, not much different to how the industry has seen already today. We have cameras that are mounted on machines. These cameras can, of course, detect people around the machine in configured zones. And then we have some video footage that is uploaded to the cloud, which is then going to provide you with actionable insights.
So, however, we've got cameras on there. You can actually, with the power of NVIDIA, you can have 6 of them now, can't you? Which does make a difference with different types of equipment, different scales of things like cranes, for example, as well as piling rigs, as well as the standard sort of telehandlers and stuff you'll see on site.
Yes, so we support up to 620-degree field of view cameras on the system. And we know the cameras are very processing heavy. So with the AI platform we have with NVIDIA, we have ample processing power to be able to look at all 6 camera feeds live. And then, as you mentioned, support every type of vehicle out there on the construction side.
So AI, we all know, is transforming everything we do, but AI learns very quickly. So the job site is a dangerous place. That's why safety is the first step. But you've got this scenario where you're putting the engine, folks, the big thing, as it were, with the CPU and everything else in it, onto the machine. But then there's different phases you're going through to make sure that the AI learns and develops for the job sites and all the applications, not just in the sunshine, folks, in the rain, in the cold weather, in the heat. So how does that actually work, and why is that element important to deliver better outcomes?
I think this is really important part of our technology. So we spend a lot of time investigating what the industry needs.
Yep.
And one of the biggest challenges we see is that these kind of systems need to be scalable. And often AI has developed a fairly poor reputation in the market. And we believe we've solved that in a way where we're able to actively train the system based on its surroundings. So I think if we put that into pretty simple terms, in the cloud, we have a massive data lake of images, over 70 million unique images from heavy construction sites.
Wow.
It's
That's
a lot of data,
folks.
right?
Yeah.
And what we're able to do with that data is when our system is deployed, we can detect and gather real world field data. We can then, if we're not sure of a certain event, whether something is a person or not a person or whatever we are trying to detect on the site, we can have a sample of that sent up and we can automatically analyze that in our super cloud.
So you've got a lake, you've got a super cloud, which takes the data. So you've got the engine there which will learn. So goes into the cloud. So I've done the classic cone pick. You put two cones together, you put a sandbag in the middle, and that's a person in some respects.
Yes.
When that sort of goes up to the super cloud, that's got like an AI co-pilot, hasn't it?
Yes, exactly. So basically what we'll do is we'll analyze that footage and we will be able to indicate straight away that actually in fact was not a person and that it was two cones with a sandbag in the middle.
Yep.
Basically what we're able to do, once we've identified that, we're able to retrain our AI model.
Yep.
But the important thing is we then evaluate the model. So we have a massive test data set of over 100,000 images, complex images, and we never deploy a model back to the unit on site unless it performs equally or better than the previous model.
Right.
So this is a really important thing because you don't want to train something out and then it maybe doesn't pick up someone climbing out of a manhole, for example.
Yeah.
So you really got to be careful in the fact that you train the model. So you train it so that it sees that that's not a person, but then you evaluate that the model hasn't degraded over that training period.
Right.
We send that back down to the unit, which of course is operating on the edge. So it's got no cloud connectivity. It doesn't need cloud connectivity to work. And then all of a sudden it will not detect that as a person anymore.
So when you talk about the edge, right, this is really important because safety, it's seconds. If something goes wrong, someone's making an incursion, somebody's doing something, the machine's coming towards them. We're reliant on seconds. But you told me earlier, actually, Peter, it's a quarter of a second.
Yes.
When you're on the edge, folks, when you've got the machine doing the work itself.
Again, this is the power of the NVIDIA, right? And our AI algorithm, of course.
Right.
But yeah, within a quarter of a second, seeing 3 or 4 frames from a video, we are making a prediction. Is that a person? Is that not a person?
Yeah.
Is that an object we want to detect or not detect?
Yeah.
And that's how it works on the edge, right?
Right. So what's really important about this, folks, as well, is then how do we configure? Right, because we've seen a lot of the job sites and the way you have to train things like, for example, when you're doing utilities, people will be closer to the actual machine anyway when the detection zones are at different stages and stuff. So you'll need a level of adjustment for the types of applications, the types of things you're doing. So as we do these things, we learn those adjustments and those things that you take.
Yep.
So we don't get alert after alert after alert after alert coming through, because this is the critical thing, isn't it? The safety people on the job site need to act when it's really dangerous.
Correct.
Yes. But sifting through thousands of different things is the problem area, isn't it? Tell me why that gets solved.
Okay, so I think I answered that in 2 parts. So firstly, in relation to the configuration, we are able to remotely reconfigure the entire device in the field if that needs to be adjusted according to the customer's needs or according to a specific job type.
Yep.
But when it comes to the actual alerts that are generated and sent to the cloud, this is where we see a massive bottleneck. Yep. Thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of events generated from one job site, each containing video footage, and it's virtually impossible for a single person to sit and watch all of those videos and come up with any meaningful conclusion.
Yep.
What we've done is we've implemented AI tools in our cloud environment where we are able to analyze the footage coming up, and then we can associate a risk level according to that, right? So I can give you a really quick example.
Go for it.
If a person is approaching a vehicle and the vehicle is reversing towards him, the person is focused on the vehicle, the person steps away from the vehicle, the operator slows down, the speed slows down. His foot might get caught in a zone. This is then detected as a zone, but it's not a dangerous situation. Everyone has acted the way they should. Yep. In that case, we would then have a risk of a low risk. Right? It's not worth looking at.
Yep.
because there's been no breach of any kind of compliance standard.
Yep.
So I think that's sort of the difference. On the contrary, if something is very high risk, someone is coming into a dangerous area around an excavator, he's talking on a cell phone or something to that effect.
Watching one of my videos.
Straight away in the post-processing, we're able to go, flag this is high risk, this is something health and safety need to have a look at.
Yeah, and so that's the whole point, folks. People are getting distracted on the job sites, but also when you're not physically in that sort of awareness space and something's going to happen, then it's like really important that we understand how that works. So that critical alert comes through then to the health and safety individual. That allows them to act. So it might be something simpler like moving a walkway, or it might be something simple as training somebody, or doing something slightly different on the job site with the way in which it's laid out.
For sure, Peter. And when we've engaged with industry, what we've noticed is that the health and safety executives actually don't have a full overview of what's actually going on in the job site. They can only be in so many places at once.
Yep.
And I think what happens when you get this actual footage of events, as well as the risk score, you're able to focus on the critical areas where you actually, the idea is you need to reduce risk on your job site, and ultimately that's going to reduce incidents and accidents.
Yeah.
So by having that insight and that sort of direct insight without having to sift through hundreds of thousands of different events that may be meaningless, you can now focus on the areas where you apply your training because you want to change the behavior on the job site. I think that's what's super important. This type of technology, it gives the operator a chance on the machine to avoid the accident. That's the primary part of it, right? We alert him and we go, okay, stop, right? Now the next side of it is like, how do we reduce that risk? How do we stop that event happening again? And that comes through different training and toolbox talks and educating people on the work site. By having this system deployed on all of your vehicles, you just get insight that you never had before. And this is what is super important, right?
And what is interesting about that, and we were talking about this earlier, is that when you get that insights, you can now use the AI to not only say there's a clip, but also to detail against your health and safety policy or approach, and also against the UK, for example's health and safety executive layouts. And that will then give you reasons of what has happened in that clip, won't it? Which allows you to go, right, we've seen a critical clip. Here's the few things that happened. How does that work, though? Because that's like mega. It's just seeing that, then it's going there, picking all this information and going da 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 da.
So I think this is where we introduced this video. We're coming with an AI platform and AI solution as opposed to just a single human form recognition system, right? So we're focused very much on leveraging the huge spend that AI industry is going through at the moment.
Yeah,
billions and billions of dollars are being spent every month on AI technology, and we're leveraging open and closed source products from that industry. And as you mentioned, we find that, okay, the risk assessment is one step, but every contractor has its own health and safety policy.
Yep.
Every contractor around the world needs to work to a governmental standard or an organizational standard, like you said, with the UK Health and Safety Executive. What we've done is we've allowed our cloud platform to be able to ingest these documents. And then with a whole lot of different AI tools and prompt engineering, we're able to teach or to prompt the system on what it needs to look for, right? So we get a whole lot of perception. We analyze every video clip that comes in. Yep. We're able to get perception of what's going on around the job site, and then to actually detail whether there's been a breach of your policy. Right. And therefore we can give you the outcome. And in this case, it could be that we say you had 59 breaches this month. Right? And we can classify them. Some of them were PPE related. Some of them were breaking a rule of being too close to a machine or a working machine. So this is now super detailed. We can refer to which area in your documentation this breach, or at least where the AI predicts that this breach has come. And I think what this does is it just frees up a lot of hands, because we don't have a person sitting behind the desk trying to watch thousands and thousands of video clips to see if there's a breach. We're trying to use AI in an ethical way where we can actually provide genuinely sort of important insights that you can then act on, right? And then I guess that takes us on to the next step, being, so what now, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, well, you've got, now this is the whole point. You've got the insights, now saying you've got like these 3 or 4 different elements there, you know, and people are wearing, like you say, the wrong PPE, which is really important. For example, you know, not wearing a hard hat or yellow or instead of orange, this, that, and the other. That creates a problem, a real world problem. So how do you then take that and do something else? I've seen this video, guys, which the AI system can make.
Yeah, again, this is just super incredible, right? Because once you've got your breaches and compliance, you now need to act on it. So that's the what. So what do we do now? We need to educate people to reduce the risk and to not break or breach compliance. And in this way, we can use multiple different tools. Very common practice in the workplace is that toolbox talks are used on a morning, every morning or every week, depending where you are. And this is where you bring up all of these topics. So we have generative tools within our platform that can generate content for you for these toolbox talks, whether it be in text, a generated heads-up video, whether you want to make a podcast for educational reasons. All of these tools are just generative tools that we can prompt. I think what I forgot to mention a little bit earlier is that we also have a privacy package.
Right.
So this is super important, right? So if we need to, if you don't want to make people visible, we can blur the people out. You don't have to include actual people in the video footage or the training material. So it's really how you prompt the system as a health and safety manager and what you want to get out of it. But yeah, this is it where we can actually generate the content that you can then go and educate people on the job site.
So, folks, AI is just wow, isn't it? Right. Okay. So we've got the cameras, we've got all the data and that information. That keeps on learning, doesn't it? You've got like 35 plus already AI engineers working on different things. Turning things around is really, really important as well. So you're talking earlier about, you know, if there's something we need to turn around quickly that is highlighted up, that can be done very, very quickly by the team. So you're not waiting, you know, weeks or months for something to change out to make the site safer. And that is all about this whole understanding. Yes, AI, but still having clever people helping to educate that AI system, isn't it?
Very much so. And this is what I believe is a really big differentiator of our system. It's this continual learning, but this continual over-the-air updates, right? So without an operator knowing, if there's a new model deployed to the machine, it will automatically load in the background. As soon as the operator restarts, that new model would then be active, right? And we do a whole lot of safety checks to make sure that that model is performing as good as its previous model. And in this case, then it may train out a specific area of concern for that operator or that job site.
So let's talk practicalities, folks. This has been launched. The great thing about it is it comes with two different flavors. One, when you're working like you're always doing with the OEMs, so that allows them to factory fit. Yes. But then the other one is really clever because that allows you, just like we see with the machine control, to be retrofitted to the fleets as well. And then talk to me about these connectivity or interconnectivity solutions. You know, for the retrofit, you've got another separate box which can give you that fit to the cloud and everything else. But you've also working hard with OEMs so you don't have lots of micro SD cards all over the machine.
Exactly, Peter. And I think that's a really important point for us. We've designed this this product in a way that it's sort of a modular fit. So if we go in the aftermarket, as you mentioned, we give you a communication hub, we give you the processing box, we give you the in-cab display, as you would with any retrofit. But from an OEM perspective, we really foresee that this is something that should end up on every machine at some stage, right? From an AI perspective, this kind of platform is what drives the future of machines. In this case, we don't want redundant hardware inside the product. So we don't want modems where we don't need to have modems, for example. And in this case, the box is designed in a way where we can plug that box into the middle of deep into an OEM machine, integrate with their cameras, integrate with their modems, and off you go.
So, folks, this is real. There's lots of stuff that's been working behind the scenes. I know it's been tested secretly in the UK and it works. So that's a great thing. But equally, this is the start of a journey, folks, that I'm going on with AI in this context, because Brad has let me into some other secrets which I can't talk to you about right now. But it's more than just the human form recognition. Everything should and has and is starting with safety. But there's lots of other things that AI can do, as we all see in our life. And that's going to change and accelerate. And the power of that chip in the middle allows you to do a whole lot more in the future, doesn't it, Brad?
That's the exciting part, Peter, and I think that's what gets me up every morning, because this is just a super exciting space. It's so agile and things are changing so fast. It's definitely a space you want to keep your eye on.
I certainly will be doing that, folks, and I found my new AI guy who I'll be taking along with the journey as well. Cheers, Brad.
Cheers, Pete. Thanks very much.